Hello, everybody. It's the rematch. It's the Blues, the D's, MCG, Saturday night. A lot on the line for both clubs all of a sudden. I don't know where this has come from, but we're here. So I've got Kane and McDonald back for another preview. Mate, it's the tradition. We get two of them this year.
Yes, I know, Terry. It's it's a different feeling to what it's been in the past, and certainly to what it was earlier in the season. Off the top, yeah, you guys are coming home with the wettest of sails, and people are comparing this run to teams who have had runs like this late in the season before. It would be super exciting for the Blues fans, but yeah, anything could happen going into this game. So super excited.
Yeah, I mean, this last 12 months has been wild. We obviously had the great humbling of 2023 and the way it all ended last year. And then I think we even had another layer of humbling this year with the 6-game losing streak, or losing 8 of 9. And all of a sudden we find ourselves in a spot where we won 7 in a row. And I'm confident that they've now got this confidence about them and there's an ability, but I don't know how to take it, if I'm honest. I really don't know what it is. Is it a turning point? Is it just a redemption from what happened? It's wild.
Yeah, it was quite funny earlier in the season. So obviously, one of my best mates, Connor Rogers, is a huge Carlton fan. Like, he just obsessively chats to me every day about everything D's, but everything Blues as well. So this week, our messenger has just been going off the wazoo. But he was as flat as I've ever seen like a sporting supporter after the Essendon loss for the Blues. He was so frustrated, so upset, and not to toot my own horn, but I sort of said to him, I said, it feels like you're not far away. Like, there was some sentiments about some change with the coach, and there was some frustrations, and there was fighting with the board, and there was a lot happening. But from the outside, it felt like you weren't far away at all. Your defense was super, super stingy. Charlie was playing great footy, and it just didn't feel like you were that far off. And it felt like one of those years where you've probably burnt yourself earlier in the season, where you're not going to make finals, but you're going to be one of those teams that are hard to beat on the run home, and it sets you up for the following year. Like, it's like you have a positive record in the back half of the season, you don't quite make finals, and then the start of 2024, you start 6-0 sort of thing, and you actually become that team. But I didn't expect like the dominance to start and continue as it has. And now it's not even like about next year. Like, next year's super exciting for you guys, but it's like you could make the 8 this year, which just caps off how good this run has been. So it's been so exciting to watch. And I think Connor was telling me that it's almost the same scenario as last year now. 3 games, you just need 1 win just to absolutely solidify yourself. So it's going to be on for young and old on Saturday.
Yeah. Well, I think one of our first videos we did together was, I think it was 2019. It must have been towards the back end of the year. And you've always been an avid Carlton man, as much as you can be, given you're a D's man. And you've always said you can see it. It's right there. And the D's obviously went through the big rebuild. They went through the heartbreak and the trauma, and obviously ended up winning the flag. What do you recall about, or can you recall, a game or a stretch of what was the turning point, or was it just year after year?
So, well, I don't know. In 2018, we won 8 in a row, and we made the prelim that year. But that was cool because, like, we never won like 2 in a row. Like, I'd never really seen us win 2 or 3, and we went on like a bit of a run there where we won 8 in a row. And that was exciting. But then the following year, we finished second last. 2019, injuries. We just absolutely just. Like, it was sort of what we're watching from Freo this year. Like, Freo aren't the 4th worst team in the comp, but they just can't string it together. And they'll bounce back pretty quickly. But it was similar to that. But I would say in 2021, we were 5-0. I think it was round 6 we versed the Tigers, and they had just won the flag the year before, and it was Anzac Day Eve, and we hadn't beaten them for 4 years. And we won that game, and it was like the most Melbourne game ever. I think we won it like 90-60. We won by 5 goals. We kept another team to 10 goals. Stingy defence, good attack. So I can sort of pinpoint when, it was that 6th win in a row, and we beat a highly rated opposition, and that's when you started to go, oh, well, geez, we could almost do anything from here.
Interesting. Interesting. Yeah. I go back to last year. I have to, because that was the first time I've experienced anything like that in the dying stages of a game with something of importance on the line. Like, we could have played finals that game had we won that game. And Cozzy Pickett and Jake Melksham just, ripping hearts out of chests. And I keep thinking about this week, and I'm like, okay, I feel like, I don't know what's going to happen on Saturday night, but I feel like in the fourth quarter, we're going to have a chance to win the game. And if we're in that phase where we have a chance to win the game, like, what it's doing for my heart right now is it's too deep, Caden. It's too deep. It hurts so much.
Yeah, well, if I'm going to call a spade, I think you guys owe us one. And it's not just for the Cozzy Pickett win, but there was a few years ago where Jaden Hunt kicked one, not long to go in the game, maybe 50 seconds. He kicked one to either seal it or put us back in front. Jordan Lewis kicked one on the siren to put us out by 8 points, but it was 2 points up until that point. He got the extra mark off Neil Bullen. They both took the full 30 without having a shot, which was high IQ. Goes back and slots it. We probably should have lost that one. And then there was one in COVID. It was I think it was the first game back after the COVID break. It was at Marvel. We're up by 30 points halfway through the last or the third quarter, and you guys came home with a wet sail and almost pinched it, and I think we won by 2 or 3 points. So even in our glory years, this is the best Melbourne Footy Club team that I have seen ever. The Carlton Football Club, every time we play you guys, are really, really plucky. So, I almost just through weight of numbers and previous results, I almost feel like you guys owe us one. We've now got ourselves in a position where top 2 is a chance. If we win this game, Brisbane have Collingwood next week, and we have Vaughan next week. So say we win this one, there's a fair chance we can solidify top 2. So there's so much on the line for us, because if we lose this, we've now jumped Port, and that would now open up the possibility of playing Brisbane at the Gabba, and that's probably the least, the fixture we want to play the least. So I think I'd rather play Collingwood at the G, or Port at the G, or Brisbane at the G before I would want to play Brisbane at the Gabba. So we've got a lot to play for, but geez, if there was a team that owed us one, it's probably Carlton.
Well, we'll see how that one plays out. I've been really curious about the Ds, because my theory is the cream rises to the top when it's all said and done. We all get sucked in so much to the week to week, or the last 3 games, or the whatever. But when it's all said and done, end around 24, the best teams find a way to make it and show how good they are. And I just felt like Melbourne would always do that. And I think they are, even though you've had some injury concerns, Fritter's out. Oliver, I think he's coming back this week, but that's been a big loss. The Grundy situation's fascinating to me, because I was sure it was just going to work. What is the story of Melbourne on the high level in this year from you?
The high level is in what do you mean by high level?
Yeah, how do you summarize what has happened to Melbourne this year, and what it's done? How do you view them? Are you confident about them, and what's the story of the year?
Yeah, well, so we wwe were told all through pre-season that we're going to build into this year differently. And I've been telling Connor that, because we chat every day about footy. And I think we started 3-2, or 1-1, 2-1. It was sort of we were just with the ledger the whole time. When in the last couple of years, I think we got to 9-0 in our flag year, and we got to 10-0 when we got bundled out in straight sets. So we usually bank wins early and then try to hold on, whatever that means. But we were told all pre-season that we were going to build into the year differently. And that reminds me of Richmond and Hawthorn and Geelong. Geelong every year are 3-3, and we try and write them off, and they always make a prelim. Might not happen this year, but in the last, when they won the flag, I think they were 5-6 or 6-5 or whatever it was. So yeah, all through our preseason, Simon Goodwin and Alan Richardson were saying we're going to build into the year differently. We're going to plan to play our best footy at the end of the season, which is very logical. So we dropped games early to Brisbane and then to Essendon. Essendon's probably the worst loss of the year. We were never in that game. The Brisbane game, we got mopped, but it was quality opposition up at the Gabba. And then the lights went out and we came home with a wet sail, which they blamed on the lights going out. But when we played them at the G, we were down by 4 goals and came back. So maybe it wasn't the lights going out. Maybe it was just the fight and the competitiveness of the boys. But yeah, we've dropped games throughout the season, not by much. Lost to Port by a kick over there, lost to Freo by a kick and a half here, which was a really frustrating result. But we've been in every game besides Essendon. And we beat the Blues, the Pies, started to build really like a great momentum. Went down to Geelong, which is just it's a loss. Like, no matter who you are, where you are in the ladder, that's
it's
just
so
a loss.
true.
So we went down there and got rolled. And that was like the week that they had their whole team together. Like, I think, before that, they had a couple of outs. After our game, they had a couple of outs. But in that week, it was sort of like Dangerfield, Hawkins, Duncan. Their back line was back. And it all knitted together for that 1 week, which was frustrating. We then go to Alice Springs and play GWS. We dominate them. Like, we did this to Geelong as well, but on the stats and all across the board, we absolutely mob them. To a point where, like, if you read the stats, it should have been a 10-goal win, but we lost by 4 points. We were super inaccurate. And from that point, we've just continued to build. Like, I felt like we were good against Geelong, but didn't quite get the result. Felt like we were great against GWS, didn't quite get the result. And since then, we've just been building. And I know that the Adelaide game was close, and the Brisbane game, you could argue we should have lost. But we're just building. We're just building at the right time. Jack Viney's played his best footy in the back half of the year opposed to the front half. Stephen May's playing his better footy in the back half of the year opposed to the front half. They've mixed up the 22 a lot. Like, Petty was forward. Petty went down back. Joel Smith's been forward. He goes down back. Brayshaw's been on the half back line. He's in the midfield. Like, we're just finding our best mix. Cozzy played a lot of midfield. Cozzy played no midfield for a few weeks. Now he's playing a lot of midfield again. Like, they're doing what they said they'd do. We're finding our best mix for the qualifying final. And we're getting close. Like, we're kicking big scores now, but we're sort of conceding a little bit more than we want to. We haven't quite had the performance yet where we kick over 100 and we really lock a team down to 50 odd. We haven't done that yet, but it's not far away. I doubt it'll be this game. I think this game will be like, 75 to 60 either way. I reckon a team might win by a couple of goals or under that, but it'll be like pretty low margins. But we're building towards exploding at the end of the year, and it's not quite feeling like 2021. Like, towards the back end of 2021, we felt quite invincible. But it's feeling way better than 2022. Like, we were limping to the finish line. Gorney was banged up. Fritter was banged up. Christian Petrarca played the semi-final with a cracked leg.
Yeah.
We limped to the finish line, and that's not the case this year. So it feels like we're going to have a decent crack at going deep, which is exciting because, once again, I haven't been to a prelim. I have not been to a prelim.
True. It was lockdown.
I haven't been to a granny. We played the prelim in 2018 in West Coast, and we played the prelim in 2021 over in WA as well. So, and we couldn't get through last year. We got kicked out in the semi. So, yeah, I can't wait. I can't wait to see if we can actually sustain it and go as deep as what we think we can.
Yeah. What's the Grundy Gawn situation? How do you see it?
Yeah, so Grundy is a better tap ruckman. So if you see Brodie Grundy in the ruck, he gives our mids first use better. And then you don't see him for the rest of the play. Like, you might see him sort of bollock through and that gather the ball quite well at a stoppage, or you might see he's pretty good at using his hands. Like he can sort of walk through, not as good as Luke Jackson, but he can walk through and feed his midfielders through hands. But his ruckman will sprint forward and take a mark inside 50, and Grundy's sort of not there. And then you don't see Grundy sort of getting on his bike and making his ruckman work. Whereas, like, if Max Gawn plays, I've never seen a opposition ruckman take a mark inside 50. Like, that's what Gawn's doing. Gawn beats them to that contest and then takes huge Darcy Moore intercepting defensive marks. And then I've seen Gawny burn his opponent by really testing them, sprinting the other way and getting on the end of a few fall to the ball and just creating a contest. So it's almost like who would you rather ruck all day? And it's like, Gawn. And who would you rather pinch hit forward? And it's like, Gawn. So I think he'll play this week. I think we're going to have a look at it. Harrison Petty's out. Our small forwards have been so influential the last month or so because Harrison Petty just competes. He's just this big lump of a lad who brings it to ground and just has a dip. Now, I know Brodie Grundy isn't a forward, but he's bigger and more athletic than Harrison Petty. So people are saying it can't work. It won't work. There's no way. He's not a forward. But I can't rule the man out when he has more attributes, more strings to his bow than Harrison Petty. And all Harrison Petty does is just be there and be a big man and compete and push blokes out the way. And if anything, just give Brodie Grundy the assignment of stopping Wiedering. Like, just give him like just give him something to focus on stopping a defender, and we might get him to halve some contests. But we've been told so much it can't work and it won't work. But I'm like, keep it simple for the man, and surely while he is forward, because then he will pinch hit in the ruck, which is where, especially with that ruck craft, he does his best work. Yeah. But surely he can just do the basics down forward. But I think this is his last crack at it. Otherwise, Tom McDonald's just come back from injury. He's been injured all year, and we know he can play that Harrison Petty role.
Yeah. Look, like I said, the cream rises to the top. The good players find a way. Brodie Grundy is not finished by any stretch of the imagination. He's just going through an adjustment period. That's how I'm taking it. He's in a club where he's gone from being the guy, the number one ruckman, and then he's had to learn how to be working in tandem with another really great ruckman. And I just think he's too good of a player with, like you said, too many good attributes to not find a way. And you're right. Like, if you line him up next to Petty and you line up their forward craft, line up everything, I think clearly Grundy's the better player at this point in his career. So I was curious as to what you guys were going to do, because I don't know if Ben Brown's fit yet. Is that right?
I think he is. I think he's just been playing twos. Maybe not. Maybe I've got that wrong. But he was sort of injured throughout the last little period. But he played a couple of weeks ago. I love Ben Brown. And it's weird. Ben Brown will kick 3 and you won't really notice him. Yeah. And Harrison Petty might not kick any, but he's just bulldozed like packs and brought it to ground and tackles and hunts and never gets beaten, which is what I love. When Ben Brown might kick 3, but there's times where it's getting walked out way too easy, or he couldn't get a hand in when he probably should. So that's a really weird sort of hypocritical thing to say. But if we go into a qualifying final with Ben Brown and Van Rooyen, I'm not going to be upset, but it's not our best mix. Right. So, hopefully Tom McDonald. I'm hoping Grundy works. I hope he comes in and just competes. But if not, it'll be Tommy Mack or, I don't know, maybe Joel Smith can go sit on some heads down forward line.
Who is leading your best and fairest?
It's probably Petrarca. He's been exceptional. I remember when he first came to the club, and I sort of don't want to reiterate stuff I've said on here in the past, but legitimately, I would go to the footy and my idols were Geordie Gisberts and Michael Evans and Viv Mitchie and Matt Jones, and like legitimate like heroes of mine, because that's who I grew up watching. And they'd only ever hang around the club for 3 or 4 years, and they never got to the 100-game mark, and they got chewed up and spat out of the system. But through my like adolescence and through my formative years, these blokes wore the red and blue for me, and I just adored them. And it's and I would see, like, you know, grew up in Geelong. I'd see my Geelong supporter mates. They'd be like, "Oh, we're going to the game on the weekend. It's Joel Corey's 300th, and Corey Enright's 300th, and it's Matty Scarlett's 250th, and it's Joel Selwoods, and it's Andrew Mackey, and it's Steve Johnson, Jimmy Bartell, Gary Ablett Jr., James Kelly." Like, all these players as a core unit, they're all legends of the Geelong Football Club, legitimately. 2, 3 flags each. So I'm catching 2 trains and a bus to watch Viv Mitchie, and I love Viv Mitchie. This guy's, the best. Brett Maloney, like all these blokes, but it just does not compare to the list we have now. Like, holy hell! Like we're watching. I think Clayton Oliver's the best Melbourne Football Club player ever, or will be, and Petrarca is sort of on the same level, and then Gawn's almost in the argument as the best D's player ever. Like, so it's just an absolute privilege to watch Christian Petrarca go about his business. When he first got to the club, whenever they do those vox pops of the team, everyone would say the most annoying player is Christian Petrarca. And apparently he was this young, excited pest of a bloke around the footy club. And there was all those sort of, forum rumours that the Saints didn't pick Petrarca because he had attitude issues. Man, it's just been so much fun to watch him develop. He could be our next captain, and I don't think we would have said that about him 5 years ago. The way he speaks in the media, the way he fronts up, the way he drives the standards, the way he sets the example by the way he plays and prepares, it's just exceptional. So I'm so thankful that we get to watch him run around for the red and blue. And then someone who's going under the radar, like people talk about Libba and how good of a year Libba's having. I think Jack Viney's been up there. Like for that last spot in the All-Australian side, it's probably going to be Libba. But I think Jack Viney's last 10 weeks would be as good, if not better, than Libba's. So I think Jack Viney won't get the BNF, and I think it will be track. But Jack Viney's in career best form as well.
It's funny you mentioned that. I was just before this afternoon, I was watching all the game highlights that we've had against each other from like back in 2014 all the way through. I stopped at 2019 because it just got too much. It was just like, and the same players for you have dominated against us since 2016. So Viney was culprit number 1, Malcolm culprit number 2,
yeah,
and Gawn culprit number 3. Just love the big moments against us. So as you were recollecting it before, there've been a lot of near misses, and we have just. There was a period there where we were on the same track, like we were rebuilding together, and then you guys just shot way past us. And then I feel like it's only in the last 12 months that we've been respectable enough to come to the party that I think, I don't know. Do you think Carlton have earned respect from the league? I think we kind of have now.
Yeah, 100%. Like you had respect, like you had that aura of a building team going into this season.
Yeah.
And then there was those people who could not wait to jump on told you so. Because everyone was tipping you for top 4, and this is the year. Like you're not even going to make the 8. You're gonna jump right in. You're going to go deep. And there was all those supporters that went, no, they won't. No, they won't. No, they won't. And then they almost got proven correct. So it's sort of, you lost that momentum at the start of the season, but now it's definitely back. And without jumping the gun too early, like you can almost lock yourself in for 4 or 5 of the best years of your life from here on in, which is super exciting. And I think
hope so.
We had a mantra in 2021, and it was like the club's mantra was proud to belong. And they lived that. Like it was a theme in all the interviews, and the players would just say, we want to just have a club where our supporters are proud to belong and proud to cheer and proud to wear your colours to work and wear your colours to Auskick, which I was never proud to do. And at the end of the year, like the way they conducted themselves in the media, the way they professionally rocked up and handled the COVID and handled the venue changes, and they just took it all on the chin. And like to salute at the end of the year, it made me really proud to belong to the Melbourne Footy Club. And even last year, like I wasn't as proud to belong. Like when the Stephen May stuff came out, and we just had a really weird year. But there was periods there where I felt like a little bit embarrassed again as a Melbourne supporter through a couple of incidences. But now I've been sitting back over the last little bit going, man, we finished first, we finished second last year, and we're probably going to finish second or third this year. I do feel that pride again. Like I'm really proud to belong to the Melbourne Footy Club. And in the next year or so, it might be the end of this year, it might be early in next year, but I reckon you're going to get hit with that. Like instead of being like, oh, yeah, I'm the Carlton supporter, it'll be like, oh, I'm a Carlton supporter. How good's this? And I think that's just about to happen to your footy club.
Hope so. I hope so, because we've been documenting week by week, brick by brick.
The doco on the Patreon or something in a few years.
I don't know what it's going to be, but it's going to have a lot of. There's thousands of hours of heartbreak. It's when it's all said and done, like you hope that it ends with a premiership, and then we can go back and put it all together into like a movie. We'll see how that one plays out.
Yeah, for sure. That's why we do it. That's what we're in the game for.
Absolutely, mate. So before I let you go, set the scene. What does Saturday night look like for you? What's your game day ritual?
Well, I'm probably going to have a lot of drinks, I think.
Okay. So you get animated this week?
Yeah, probably. I've been trying to contain my frustration. Well, if I have a couple of drinks, I'm a little bit tired and it's a night game and it starts going against our way, I can sort of, like, when you're slightly inebriated, I'm not full-blown nuffy where people around me would be frustrated, but my mate next to me would probably look at me and go, oh, what's he doing? Like, I can really just lose that inhibition and just become one with the team and like ride every bump and handball and, oh, we've missed that and the umpire's paid that one that way and, oh, we're missing chances. So I'm really going to be conscious at trying not to go down that path. But Saturday night, I'm going to have a few drinks. I'm going to watch the Matildas, probably watch the first half at a pub and then probably walk over at halftime, watch the rest of it at the game. They're going to have it on the big screens for us when we walk in. I'll whip the boys home. I think for me, I reckon this is going to be one for the ages. I reckon it's going to be on for young and old. I think this will be a final before finals. I think it'll be low scoring. I think the winning team will score 70 and the losing team will score high 50s. And I hope we take the sting out of it like we did against you guys earlier in the season, where we just had that 15-point buffer and we didn't dominate and it didn't get much higher than that. And it sort of got back to 9 and then back to 15, but the game was never out of our control. So from a Melbourne supporter point of view, I hope it's like a really professional, like we respect the opposition and we professionally get it done. But if it trends anything like our last few games, you guys will be 24 points up at periods and we're going to rock it back and get 20 points up and then you guys will rock it back in front. I'm really hoping we put that our turn, your turn brand to bed and we can just professionally sort of control the game. But what do you reckon the Blues are going to throw at us?
I just think it's going to be such a high pressure game. I think it's going to be honestly a carbon copy of the end of last year.
That was so hot. Like the footy was so hot.
And yeah, okay, like we got our hearts broken, but I can't look at how Carlton played last year and be anything but proud. Like if we're going to be losing games, putting that kind of heat on the side, then like I don't know what you're watching. So I was proud of them last year, even though it ended the way it did. And hopefully they just bring the same intensity. And if we win, it's going to be a very, very special win because this group has the opportunity to clinch a spot in the finals for the first time ever as a group. So we're all waiting for that, and we don't want to get too caught into it, because if it doesn't happen, it's going to break our hearts again. So if it's this week, I'm going to love it. Obviously, if it's not this week, I hope it's next week. If it's not next week, I hope it, whatever. But we're so close again, and it's just it'll just be, I don't know. I could cry. I don't know. I get emotional thinking about it. Man, I've sat through some shit, Caden. I'm telling you, man, I've sat through some shit, as you know, you have too, with the D's. So, yeah,
it's a weird vulnerability that you give. Yeah, like you're so vulnerable. I remember walking into the semi-final last year against Brisbane that we ultimately lost, going like, I'm giving myself to this experience. Like it is going to rip my heart out if we lose, and it did. And it's like, do I want to be here? Like, was it a little bit easier when we finished 10th and we it was over by round 17 and we won a couple more? And was that easier? And it was easier, but geez, the high is high. So if you want to buckle up for the high, you got to buckle up for the low as well. And geez, I won't be as heartbroken if we lose on the weekend, but this will be a massive win if we can get it done. So there's a lot to play for.
Love it. Well, mate, good luck for the rest of the year. Just not Saturday. Like, I do wish you all the best. You know, I do have a lot of love for you. Just good luck every other day of the year except Saturday night. I think that's fair.
Yeah, I think that's more than fair. I'm hoping for a hot contest, but I do not want to see any injuries. I hope both teams crack in and get through healthy. And then, the next few weeks, I think you guys have a few boys coming back. So coming back at the right time of year as well. So it's super exciting. And, I wish you guys all the best as well. I almost lived my Carlton journey vicariously through Rog. So he's going to be sitting next to me on Saturday. And, one of us will go home pretty upset.
Yeah. Well, mate, it's always a pleasure talking to you. Thanks for your time. And we'll do this again whenever the next time is.
Could be sooner than you think.
Yeah. See you, mate.
See you, mate.